welcome to Tuesday Coffee Break. It's wonderful to see you. As usual, I would like to address 3 marketing questions that come to the community members and also my email subscribers list. And I hope these 3 questions will help you. If you have any specific questions related to my answers, reach out to me anytime, hello@pamdidner.com, or join my Facebook community, Build Your Marketing Skills to Get Ahead. So these are 3 questions. Number 1, how can I generate leads through content marketing and select the best marketing channels to do so? Okay, that is a very popular question. I want to address a very holistic view in terms of why you can tackle that. Number 2, marketing attribution is one of the challenges. I agree with that. Over time, the number of the channels we use tend to increase. So how can I pinpoint which efforts are moving the needles? I love this specific question as well. Many marketers have this specific question. I want to talk about what you can do using marketing technology. Number 3, in B2B marketing trends, that comes and goes and changes happen frequently. How can I keep up with the novelties and keep my B2B content fresh and compelling? And this question is a little bit generic and is actually from one of my email subscribers. I want to touch a little bit in terms of what you can do on that. All right, so let's get started on question number 1. How can I generate leads through content marketing and select the best marketing channels to do so? To answer that question, there's no template. And every companies and every business does their marketing differently. What works for me and what works for a specific company does not necessarily apply to you. I want to make that very clear to everybody. I know all of us are looking for templates, looking for the best practice, and also looking for what is the easiest way to do it. But what I would suggest you to do is do a self-reflection. Look at your own companies in terms of what you are doing to generate leads at this time. And also have a list of the marketing channel you are using. Write those channels down and run an analytics. Have some data to determine what channels are working and what channels are not. So do a little bit of homework, right? And have holistic views in terms of what channels are working and what channels are not working. I'm going to use myself as an example. I do email marketing, I create YouTube video, and I have the Facebook community. I also speak at different conferences. And I'm looking at all these channels. I can tell you that the best way for me to get leads and also prospects is actually from attending conferences and speaking, doing workshops and also sessions. Right? So I know that for sure. And then I understand that's where my most leads come from. And that will be the marketing channels I will focus the most. So when you are doing your marketing effort, you need to think through, are you doing email marketing? Are you doing event marketing? Are you doing any kind of social media marketing? Understand the data for each of the channel, how they actually convert, how do they perform, and not necessarily focus on, okay, I get a lot of likes, I got a lot of shares, but that really doesn't mean a lot unless you can pinpoint, understand who are sharing, who are actually commenting on your social media channel, and correlate that with your CRM, right? You need to identify if they are the new prospects or they are existing customers. Does that make sense? The most important thing, a lot of people are asking these specific questions. How do I generate more leads? My recommendation to you and them is always look at your past data, right? Determine what actually works and what doesn't work. And then look ahead in terms of what are some of the channels that you want to test and see if you can optimize and make it better. Is that helpful? So look at the data, use the data, and have a conversation as a team and determine what the next step that you should do. And there is no panacea, and I want to say that one more time, there's no panacea for this specific answer. Every company does differently. I will look at your own company in terms of what your practices are and then make what needs to be changed. That's question number 1. Question number 2. Marketing attribution is one of the challenges. I agree with that 100%. Over time, the number of the channels I use tend to increase. That is true as well. How can I pinpoint which efforts are moving the needle? You know what? It's very hard. It is very hard, especially in the digital marketing world, that every single companies are using multi-channel approach. They are tackling multiple different channel, and they share the information. They do a lot of outbound marketing to drive the inbound traffic. And it's very hard to see which channel works. And a lot of time, many channels probably coexist, work very nicely together. Like people who come to my workshop, the next things they will do is they will do Google search organically and say Pam Didner. Just check out who Pam Didner is. And during the workshop, I encourage them to join my Facebook community. You know what? They might join, they might not join, right? And when they check me out on my website, and I also say, hey, subscribe to my newsletter. And if, from the marketing, from the attribution of attending my workshop, that's a first attribution, down to check me out organically and also do a Google search, that's a second touch point, right? That's a second attribution. And then move on to subscribe to my newsletter, getting my newsletter, that's a third touch point, which is another attribution. And everybody follow that customer journey a little bit differently. You cannot create like one or multiple or thousand of the customer journey to tailor for different people. What you can do is look at a pattern, right? I will look at a pattern and somehow anticipate what people might do after they're attending my workshops and the session at the conferences. And then I build a customer journey based on that pattern. Does that make sense? So what you need to do is the same thing. So my first question, I tell you, you need to have a holistic view in terms of the marketing channels that your company use. Doing the same thing for the marketing attribution, you should have that knowledge as well. The short definition of the marketing definition is the following, okay? It's really the analysis that you do to determine which marketing tactics are contributing to sales or conversions. So with that specific definition, it's really drives conversion and also sales. So a lot of a marketing contribution tend to focus on the last touch point. The touch point that before they contact you or contact the sales directly. But before the last touch point, many things happen along the way. That doesn't mean that you should ignore all the touch points that happen before the last marketing attribution. Does that make sense? So the way to track everybody's, what's the touch point, is that everything you do, you need to have some sort of UTM or some sort of pixel or some sort of tracker. So you know that a lot of the website, depending on which channel they use, they have a UTM code associated with each channel. Why are they doing that? That's because they can track which channel does that come from. And then they will determine which channel is actually effective to drive the inbound traffic. So in order to do that, you need to understand that every single channel you use needs to have some sort of tagging, and also you need to have a back-end integrations that's built up to ensure that when the data or your customer is moving from one place to another, you can track them. So now you know the magic of programmatic ads, right? You do some Google search on certain furniture for certain clothes, and then there's ad following you around for a little while. Well, that's a very targeted ads, and that's what happened. And that's the way how digital work. If you want to use digital data very effectively, you need to make sure you learn how to track them. And that's where marketing attribution comes from. That's why it's very, very important. Like I said, majority of the people at this point, given that we engage with brands and or with products online and offline, it's very hard to track that marketing attribution. But online, if you do it the right way, you can really track your customers and what they do online. Of course, you need to take into account in terms of a privacy concern. So the key things to answer the second question, I want to make sure you understand, is understand in terms of what attribution that you want to track, the first, the last, or somewhere in the middle. Make sure you build the system to track that. Understand the holistic view of your marketing channel and really look at the data to determine what channel is effective for you. It does take a little bit of time to kind of go through that process. If you have any specific questions, let me know. We can talk about it. All right. Question number 3. In B2B marketing trends, that, it can be overwhelming, and there's a lot of technology and platforms that come and go. How can I keep up with the novelties of the technologies and also keep my B2B content fresh and compelling? I want to address that in 2 ways. One is the personal development or professional development as an individual, as a B2B marketer, and the other one is the content that you're going to create for your company. So we, as a marketer, we tend to focus on like the shining subject, right? Oh, everybody's on Twitter. Let's do Twitter. Oh my God, everybody's on TikTok. Let's have a TikTok account. And my recommendation in terms of what specific knowledge or discipline that you have to learn over a period of time, it will determine what your interest is and also what your career path. From my perspective as a marketer, there's 2 ways, right? You can focus on very specific marketing discipline, like SEO. The only thing you know is SEO, search engine marketing. Or you want to be well-rounded. You want to make sure that you know demand generation, marketing strategy, MarTech, ability to work with sales, and in addition to paid media, social media, and all different marketing discipline. A lot of people tend to be overwhelmed. They will look at 3 different blogs and they got overwhelmed and they're also confused in terms of what they should focus on. And on the professional development front, depending on what you want to do, if you really want to hone into a specific marketing discipline, then focus on that specific field. If you really want to move up the corporate ladders and eventually become a VP of marketing or CMO, chief marketing officers, you need to actually have a certain knowledge and horizontal, have a different marketing discipline that you need to understand. With that specific direction in terms of understanding different marketing discipline, I would really focus on understand what each marketing discipline do and how that marketing field connected to the others. Does that make sense? For example, if you are event marketers, you need to understand that you need to have an understanding of how social media can drive butts and seats for your event. So you need to have some understanding of that. That doesn't mean you have to do the job, but you need to understand that what social media can do to actually help you drive some buzz for your events, right? And after the events, you are using email marketing to actually nurture and also do a follow-up with the attendees or the people that come to your booth. Well, understand what email marketing can do, but that doesn't mean you have to write a copy. But understand how to leverage email marketing and maximize email marketing as a follow-up post-event, right? So understand how different marketing elements that will tie together will give you some holistic view in terms of what and how marketing can integrate. And as a senior manager, you need to possess that knowledge and the ability to connect different dots. Does that make sense? So that's one part of it you need to understand in terms of digital marketing. For this specific question, I also want to answer from the perspective of, if to do your job, how do you keep your content fresh and compelling? And for that, I think it's very important. It's not necessarily from your perspective, like, oh, how do I keep my content fresh and compelling? You need to think from your customer's perspective. And to keep it fresh and compelling, it's your point of view. But you need to think from your customer's point of view who are consuming the content and how important it is to keep it fresh and compelling. Sometimes it doesn't have to. Sometimes it's just basically reminding your customer in terms of your product and services, or reinforce some of your product features and key points. Or sometimes it's just basically understanding and looking to the future trends to educate your customers. Does that make sense? So the keeping your content fresh and compelling, I will come from the perspective in terms of what your customers' needs are and then create an editorial that makes sense and that's educational and relevant and useful for your customers. Not necessarily in terms of, okay, how do I keep it fresh? And of course, you can update your content on a regular basis. But again, it's coming from the perspective of your customers' needs and their pain points and also aspiration. All right, so that's my answer for all the questions for this week. Again, if you want to reach out to me anytime, let me know. hello@pamdidner.com. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment below. I would really appreciate that. Okay? And join my Facebook community will be great too. And I answer every single question myself. Take care. Bye.